we return to glorious Swordland. Now, I didn't think I had joined Ato. Let's just take a quick look here. Ato officers. Well, I guess I did join Ato last time. It's been a few days since I streamed this. 4 days. And off stream, I've done like a number of. I've done a number of runs, so I've gotten a little befuddled as to what the heck I was doing last time. So we did side with Ato. We've got an alliance with Lesbia. We've got an alliance with Agnolia. Right. The economy is still kind of in the dumps. Well, let's see what's going on. First long-range bombers deployment. Defining moment. Deploy long-range bombers. Okay. CSP announces Universal Minority Rights Convention. Hey there, Kitty. Welcome. Expansion of the Alliance's human rights. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Revolters take over Cultural Center. An estimated 6,000 revolters have taken over a massive Benfi Cultural Center complex and declare headquarters of the revolution. Dozens of civilians were injured in the chaotic event. Okay. Why are there rioters? Our sanctuary roof arson by vandals? Armored column rolls through rioters. Disguised rebels ambush police officers. Protesters occupy Blue Mansion and City Hall. Things don't seem to be going too well. Gas and facilities occupied by rioters. Rioters destroy Ribery Historical Site. Okay. Red, Youth, and Swords fight. We're once again involved in a large-scale fight. Vandalism of a soul statue in Lockhaven. Young Swords oppress Blutish protesters. What's going on, Halstead? It's a briefing on the current economic situation. Good afternoon, Mr. President. Good afternoon. No sincere apologies. No, not yet. As you know, we're here to review the economic progress. I will brief you quickly on what we have done so far, just as a refresher. Very well, let's hear it. Our extra focus on the economy has resulted in some small-scale positive growth. The extra resources have been a boon to my ministry. It would be great if we followed up on this focus during our next term. Let's take a deep dive into the details now. Let's start off with our economy plan. I'm glad to say that we are on track with our initial plan for a market economy. Most of our decisions so far have been pretty consistent. Thank you for your efforts. Let's move on to the report. If I were to describe what we have done so far, I would say that's very close to laissez-faire economic system. Turn on to page 16. Happy to say that our trade has increased since the beginning of our term. More trade means more vibrant economy, which means unbridled economic development. Turn to page 17. In our attempt to repair Swordland's economic system, we went with a mixed approach. Has been a delicate balance. Thankfully, living standards are steadily increasing. We've been receiving fewer and fewer complaints about our welfare systems. Good. Some of our industries have also been knocked down to their knees by recent taxation. The demand for these goods has decreased drastically, which led to business in these industries being shut down. Some people are calling for the government out, infringing on their personal liberty. Apparently, some even filed lawsuits saying the tax is a violation of their human dignity. The lawyers argued for for them that they need it for mental health treatment. Our production rate has gone down since the beginning of the term. We're at a low point now, right now. Then we need to fix it as soon as possible. I'll note that down. Situation has improved and beyond our expectations. Our infrastructure projects have paid off in the long term. Smoother commutes, easier access, faster delivery times. Everyone's happy. Okay. Our inflation rate is currently a staggering 49%, way up from 10%. It might be the highest in Sutherland's history. Suzerain has been wildly fluctuating as a result. Consumer prices have gone up. Are angry at the government. We need to fix this. There's nothing more important. Agreed. Do you have any questions? What's our debt situation? Our debt is at 513 billion SR, way more than the 427 billion at the beginning of our term. Basically has budged significantly down from where we started. I would still consider this as an economic loss. As we inherited a recession, we essentially increased the possibility of an uncontrollable debt spiral. Hey there, Carol. Due to our reckless spending in the first term, I'm sorry to say that we have entered a debt crisis. We won't be able to pay up our government debt without the assistance of a third party. You know, things. There are events at about the mid-game which basically kick you in the pants and give you a bunch of unexpected expenses. Has even quadruple disrupted our funding for our welfare plans. How are we doing with unemployment? Unemployment remains steady at 16%. It's mostly due to the lack of investments in average economic planning. Average economic planning. Numbers for our GDP. A major decrease. Wow. 141 billion SR. Down from the 310 billion SR we had to start of a turn. All the questions I had. So the economy's not doing great. I want to quickly highlight our budget expenditure. We have been generously spending our government budget. One thing is clear, we need a bigger budget. We shouldn't start our next term with a budget deficit. What should we do? We will take an international loan from the MFI. So it poses quite a risk to the reputation of our administration, but it can be done. I'll get right on it after this meeting. Violent unrest. The numbers I've given has worsened considerably. There's no longer a mere Sortish Great Depression. We've done all we could. Now it's time to try and fix the mistakes. And giving more license to act, everything should run more smoothly. Get through this together. Okay. Salmon left rotting in storage. Morbel soon to be a ghost town. Increased crime and racial violence plagues Sarna. Very low public opinion. Moderate growth in Gurney's economy. HOS aids election campaign. NFP welcomes the General Lutheran son. IRPJ Richter slogans victory for everyone. Okay. What's in the news? Swordland today, tensions boil over. Okay. So street fights between the young swords and the red youth. Alfonso Foundation expands reach to Anrica. Okay. Anraka's maritime might. Nuclear-powered vessels make waves. Okay. There's this scheduled television interview. Swordish Great Depression? Oh no. Our nation will recover. I wonder... I've only ever seen a single option there. International IMF loans. Yeah. Armed militants. Scheduled television interview. Yes. Good, I've done my best to make this happen. This is very important for our administration. The crew is prepared to start filling. Mr. Sacker is excited to interview. Okay. Hope solution. Okay. Mr. President, welcome to One-on-One. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. Let us begin with the latest incident between Swordland and Rumberg. An aircraft of the Swedish Air Forces was shot down by Rumbergian anti-air. Officials from Rumbergian government proclaimed that the aircraft was flying inside the airspace of Rumberg. Your government has been silent, apart from a few statements which claim that your plane was indeed in Swedish airspace when it was shot down. Do you believe Rumbergian forces initiated an intentional attack? We have reason to believe that yes, Rumberg has become increasingly aggressive over the last years. I don't want to think they attacked us intentionally. It must have been a mistake. Is that even a question? We have reason to believe that Rumberg has become increasingly aggressive over the last years. Does that mean there will be more hostilities on the horizon? I hope not. We are willing to do what it takes to avoid a conflict. I can't say that for sure. We'll have to ask the Queen Livingston herself. Do you believe these harassments could lead to an actual war between Swordland and Rumberg in the future? I hope not. We're willing to do what it takes to avoid conflicts. I honestly doubt that. I believe that that's what Rumberg wants. They have been working to get justification for such an action. I believe that's what Rumberg wants. They have been working to get justification for such an action. This week, the Arcasian government has condemned Rumberg for their actions against Swordland. Now that Swordland is also a member of ATO, do you think this would deter Rumberg from creating a broader conflict? Yeah, so it will surely deter them from creating a war, but they will likely continue their harassment in other ways. Queen Beatrice, so far still unified. Before we move on with that, I want to ask you another topic. Not so long ago, a spy was discovered within your administration, and the alleged spy was none other than your own secretary. The resulting scandal resulted in Mr. Vactorn leaving office. Many claim that was just an internal political move designed to replace Mr. Vactorn. What do you have to say about these accusations? I'm still mourning the loss of Mr. Vactorn. I don't appreciate you asking me such a question. He was a friend of mine. Yes, he was a friend of mine. I knew we were very close, Mr. Rayne. My condolences, but I didn't get an answer to my questions. Why would I oust my largest supporter, close friend, and the backbone of my administration? I'm asking you the questions here, Mr. President, but let's move on. It didn't look like he was satisfied by my response. He stopped for a moment and took a brief look at his papers. Okay, let's return to your foreign policy. Let's talk about the ongoing conflict around Highland Island. Has been increasingly active in the Marquian Sea, as you know. They've been harassing Agnolian ships, and recently Swordish ships as well. I believe Swordland is committed to stand with Agnolia. In fact, you have a military alliance with them. What do you think of Volgland's actions and their claims on the island? It's very concerning. We can't have them harass the other nations of the Marquian Sea. The seas are not theirs to claim. I invite Chancellor Hegel to see reason. I believe the conflict can be resolved diplomatically. Do you think the hostilities between Agnolia and Volgsland might erupt into a hot war? There's definitely a possibility, therefore all nations should do their best to calm the situation. Would Switzerland also get involved if the situation gets out of control? Yes, the Swedish Armed Forces and Swedish Navy are ready to act if our allies need us. Why is it that you support Agnolia's side in this conflict, Mr. President? Has always had good relations with Agnolia. They control the island, and nobody has a right to interfere. We're not picking any sides here, but it's Volgsland who's harassing Agnolia and exacerbating the problem. Let's go with 3. Last year, huge conflicts took place on your borders with Welling. When Wessex forces partook in a massacre of Bluish civilians under the guise of eliminating the Bluish front, Swordland decided to stay out of the conflict. In fact, many refugees fleeing from the massacre came to Swordland. Knowing that Swordland also has troubles with the Bluish independence movement, how did Swordland cope with the influx of Bluish refugees coming in from Welland? I think we handled it pretty well. Most of those refugees have already been relocated to major Sworded cities. It was definitely tough. Swordland has its own problems, but and this put extra pressure on our economy. Don't understand the question. The Bluish movement had nothing to do with it. They could have been swords or Wessex as well. First of all, they are human beings. One or 3? I don't like 2 here. I'll go with 1. The world has been watching this humanitarian crisis with utmost attention, and I have to give you credit for allowing these people to enter Swordland. Unlike your neighbor Lesbia, Swordland took this responsibility. You feel the burden for being the only country who opened their borders to their refugees, to some extent, but we can't complain. In an ideal world, all surrounding nations would take the responsibility. But Swordland stands alone yet again. Definitely, I deplore Prime Minister... Okay. Fortunately, our economy is still in recession. It would be a lie if I said we don't feel the burden. Still in recession. It would be a lie if I said we don't feel the burden. I understand. Can you say with certainty that these refugees can adapt and find a better life in Switzerland? Yes, I genuinely believe that. Well, it seems that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for your valuable time, Mr. President. It was a pleasure. Likewise, Mr. Stacker. I enjoyed it very much. Thank you for coming to Sorland. Alright, let's see what the news has to say. Sorland dependent on foreign help. Wow. Over the years, President Tantalon has led our once proud nation into a precarious state of dependency. Okay. Protesters occupied the Blue Mansion. Say no to divided the Sorland Party. Swedish Great Depression. Subpar leadership. Outrageous. Swedish champions against the Rizian Giants. New force in politics. People's Front, WPBs. Monsoon Leke is chosen as the coalition's presidential candidate. Okay. People's Front resorts to MFI loans. Neck deep in mud. Yeah, okay. Controversial PR visit. WPB leader poisoned. British opinion high. Huge rise in WPB popularity. And soon becomes the new leader. And soon might return to WPB. Yeah, okay. Ah, here we go. Ivory. Private meeting with Lilius Graf. A historic Graf Manor lay on the outskirts of Ivory. It was formidable as Lilius herself. Invited me here for a private dinner, just the two of us. I wasn't sure of her motivation, but was happy to have an excuse to escape the chaos back in Holstered. Sirs dropped me off at the door. Knock. The butler answered and showed me into the parlor. Gas lanterns lent the wood-paneled panel room a cozy orange glow. Lilius was sitting on the sofa. Above her hung a nearly life-size portrait of a sallow, unhappy-looking young woman in a lace ball gown. Is that your grandmother? Question mark. My mother, actually. I was her only child, you know. Giving birth to me left her medically unable to conceive. My father never could forgive her for not bearing him a son, and she never forgave me. She took a measured sip of one of her 2 glasses of sparkling wine. She was holding another and handed me the other. Sounds like a painful childhood. The silver lining is that despite personally despising me, they felt compelled to grant me all the advantages a son would have had, including the education I needed to rise to my current position. Nice story. Why am I here? Given how your wife spends her time these days, I thought you might be in need of a home-cooked supper. Wow, meow. The butler silently stepped into the parlor and rang a silver bell. Ah, speaking of which... Cool story, bro. She let me into the dining room, where a glittering chandelier hung from a high ceiling. Beneath it was a long table, set for 2. A woman in an apron and a chef's hat, Wesek by her appearance, ceremoniously presented a roast rack of venison. Smells delicious. The groundskeeper shot it this morning. Liz bowed her head and said a quick prayer, then motioned for me to dig in. It was some of the best meat I'd ever had. We ate in silence for a while, then Lilius pensively laid down her cutlery. Anton, I want you to know that I have nothing but respect for you. Oh, I respect you too. But given certain developments that have occurred over the course of your term, I believe you are no longer fit to lead the United Sortland Party. I wanted you to be the first to know that I myself will be running against you at the party congress. I suspected that might happen. Of course you did, you aren't stupid. Did you think I'd sit by as you made a mockery of this country's constitution? Yeah, it's just a French stabber. The very constitution that is keeping this nation safe from internal and external threats. You're a disgrace to the good name of Tarkin Saul. Did you poison my food? You're fired. It's a little late for that. I'm doing you a courtesy tonight. I didn't want to surprise you at the Congress, and I wanted to give you time to consider backing me. You're mad. I won't do it, and neither will the rest of the party. We'll see about that. I'll tender my official resignation once we're both back in Holstered. I understand now why you never found a husband. May the best man win, then. I'll take my leave. I'll take my leave. Thanks for the evening, nonetheless. I'll have the butler show you that. Serge and I drove away. I looked at the rearview mirror and saw her silhouette in the doorway. So I was being challenged from within my own party. At least Lilius wouldn't pose much of a threat. Or so I hoped. Alright. It's in the news. Minister of Interior Graf resigns. Graf throws in the towel. Ato modernizes Air Force with new planes. The Sutherland S-16 supersonic jet fighter gives our Air Forces a decisive edge in aerial combat. Arcasian Hornets. WPB and CPS. Leaders of the Workers' Party of Bludia and the Communist Party of Sordland held a meeting together. Talked about entering an alliance before the election to pass the election threshold. Huh, okay. Military parade? It was an unusual day for the residents of Holsard. Regularly used streets and avenues were blocked off by military personnel, many shops and cafes were closed, and once crowded stores were now empty. Instead, thousands of residents in Holsard were concentrated in one street, Victory Avenue. Stretching out through the heart of Holsard, people on both sides of the road were waving their Swedish flags proudly for the military parade. I was getting prepared to embark on my trip. It was going to be a short drive down the Victory Avenue until we reached Maroon Palace. My company for this trip was Josef and with Serge, as usual driving the presidential car. Josef approached me. He was wearing his decorated ceremony outfit. He carried a sword with a goat head at the handle and his pistol by his hip. He put on his cap. Mr. President, we're almost ready. We will depart right after the tank column. Rumberg will think twice after today. They will tremble before the Swedish military might. After hearing the loud thump of the book falling down to the floor, he turned to a couple of privates that were doing the preparations on the schedule and started walking in the direction. Private, can you do your job properly? I watched the young soldiers perform a lousy salute to Josef. What is that salute, soldier? Watch, this is a Braille salute. He performed an excellent salute. After scolding the privates, he walked back. Strict as ever. Old habits die hard. Serge appeared from the entrance and joined us, Mr. President. Mr. Lancy. Serge performed a salute to Josef, which made Josef smile under his mustache. At ease, Mr. Wolkner. Are you ready to depart yet? Yes, sir. Follow me, please. We started following Serge through the corridors. Mr. President, have you seen the tanks? Our planes, too. Rumberg will be so scared when they see this. Yes, Serge, I have seen it. That is the plan. A great one, I'd say. My kids were very excited to wake up today, to see the planes fly. Serge, where did you do your military service? Born a 7th Artillery Squadron. I still talk with many of my friends from those days. The camaraderie of military is never forgotten. I'm still in touch with my friends from basic training as well. What about you, sir? Where did you serve? All over Sordland. Mr. President was under my command once. Gumran Outpost. He turned to me. Do you remember those days? Who could forget Major Lancy? We called him the Relentless. Josef let out a long laugh. Good old days. I also remember Mr. President did not like to execute direct orders from his superiors. It's in the past now. True. We are here, sir. We exited the building and walked over to the clearance, where the Black Cadila, the presidential car, was waiting. It was decorated properly for the event, and the top canopy had been removed so that it could stand and wave to people. On the way to the car, generals and admirals were lined up on both sides of the carpet. The atmosphere immediately changed when these experienced men who fought many times for their country saluted me. I saluted back with respect. I saluted the high-ranking military staff and attaches from Ato. We shook hands before proceeding. I entered the car and Serge started the engine. Josef saluted me, and we were on our way shortly. Good luck, Mr. President. The car started rolling. Even though there were many walls and trees between the car and the crowd, I was able to hear the deafening sounds of cheering Swedish citizens. Gradually, we made our way to the starting point. A group of 10, maybe 12 latest technology S-16 fighter jets flew above our S instead of F-16s, flew over our heads, and I thought that the engine sound was going to leave me deaf. The loud footsteps of the marching soldiers were followed by the loud noises coming from the tank engines. The tanks came into view. They were not the most modern models, however, they displayed our military might. I couldn't even finish my thought, and one of the tanks broke down and had to be towed. Waited for a few minutes for the announcement. Finally, it was our turn. On both sides of the Victory Avenue, there were numerous citizens cheering my name, waving their Swedish flags. I will wave. I waved to the people. Looking at the benches where the general staff was sitting, I saw Tarkin Saul sitting next to General Vulcan. From this distance, it was hard to tell, but he tipped his hat off to me, and I could swear he was smiling. We kept our slow and steady pace. We were almost at Arthur S. Whiskey statue, several hundred meters away. A group of soldiers saluted me as we passed by. They looked proud and stout in their new infantry uniforms with brand new rifles. The convoy continued as I looked around and saw that there was a military truck parked next to the statue in the distance. Sarge, is that truck part of the parade? I think so, Mr. President, although I'm not sure why it's parked. We continued and neared the statue. The truck was standing in the middle of the road, blocking the parade a few dozen meters in front of us. Was this scheduled? What is going on? Do you see the truck? I don't know, sir. Something's wrong. His jaw was clenched and he was intently watching. Sarge then picked up the radio. There seems to be a truck on the way. Is this part of the schedule? 3 men who jumped out of the truck started running towards our car. They were holding KA-74s pointed right at us. Surge, floor it, now! Reverse, get down, they're gonna shoot. Reverse, get down, they're gonna shoot! Surge reversed the car at full speed and ducked. Duck down. I ducked down as fast as I could. We started firing, my ears started ringing. I could hear the bullets impacting the car as we reversed and hit a roadblock behind us. There was a complete silence, followed by screams from the crowd. There was a muffled sound from the front seat. What just happened? A brief gunfight ensued outside as the police and soldiers rushed over to secure the vehicle. Sir, are you alright? I'm fine. Are you injured? He patted himself down. No injuries, sir. Thank God. Yeah, absolutely. Good thing we invested in an armored car. Emergency medical teams arrived and started examining me and Serge. After confirming that we had no injuries, I stood up and took a look around. The car was dotted with bullet holes. The bodies of dead gunmen were in front of it. It was a miracle that no one died. Interior opens investigation into assassination attempt. Police forces and private detectives have been deployed. Higher security measures have been put into place to avoid any future attempts. Parade report. Joseph Valencia has reported that the military personnel who were involved with the parade's organization and security checks have been put under custody until further notice. Attention all citizens in the greater Hulsford region. After the assassination attempt on the president, and all nearby are under immediate lockdown. Okay, please remain in your homes. Three shot trying to kill President Rayne. 3 assassins have been killed during the much anticipated military parade. Attackers were seen jumping out of a military truck with KA-74s. Citywide search has begun to find the connections of the assailants at the Hulsford police is high. Attempt to murder Rayne fails. Thankfully, the attempt has failed. Warning everyone to go back to their homes. Okay. Who's behind the assassination attempt? How is this even possible? In the middle of a military parade? How could this even happen? This has to be an inside job, period. There's simply no other way that would justify assassins jumping out of a military truck during a parade. President Rayne better be more careful with who he trusts from now on. No matter what, a president is a president. Rayne is the democratically head of our country. A radical speaking truth once again. Will of the state. Okay. Well, let's read the news. 8-0 influence, Swordland's energy market in flux. Has experienced notable shifts influenced by the Alliance's market dynamics, while the enhanced access to diverse energy resources and technologies could potentially bolster our energy sector. Concerns persist about foreign influence and the loss of market autonomy. World leaders to gather at Alliance of Nations. Okay, well, we get to go talk to the UN. What's going on? Magnolia expresses solidarity following assassination attempt. Schedule for the Alliance of Nations. Okay. Alright, well, I guess we go and talk to the UN. Today, the management of the oh no, it's the football game. FC Anrica had invited me to attend the pivotal football match. At Lucian's urging, I accepted. The team was representing Swordland in the international arena. According to Lucian, it would have been unpresidential not to put in an appearance. FC Anrica was finally in the Market Cup, the most prestigious football tournament in the world. For the first time ever, a Swordish team had managed to qualify for the knockout phase. Millions of Swordish people were waiting to watch FC Anrica compete against the legendary Rizium team Real Monteclar. Despite all the odds being stacked against the team, the mood was full of hope. A win today would bring Anrica to the quarterfinals, a feat that no Swordish team had ever managed to achieve. And of course, all presidents of Swordland, current and former, were invited to watch the historic competition. I was told that both Tarkin Sol and Ewald Alfonso would be joining me in the lounge reserved for us. How are you feeling, sir? I'm fine, Lucian, thank you. We made our way towards the Maroon Stadium. The arena was situated in one of the most crowded quarters of Anrica, surrounded by dense urban development. As we wound our way through the streets, I noticed the name of Tarkin Sol everywhere. Since I'd last been here, markets, restaurants, and even pubs named after the Colonel had all popped up. Why is Anrica so crazy about Sol all of a sudden? I'm imagining things that we just passed a pub called Alcosol. I'm afraid we did, sir. I've heard this is part of an ad campaign for Anrica, an attempt to draw tourists, or at least Solist ones, to the city. Sol's legacy still lives on for billions, after all. Lucian's pocket radio crackled. After responding, he turned to me. Sir, the security gave us the clear and informed us that Tarkin Sol has already arrived at the lounge. Good luck. I know he is quite the imposing presence. Please follow guards to the top floor. You will be seated in the VIP lounge. Any advice before I leave? You know the guests of honor more than I do, sir. If all else fails, just focus on the match. Shouldn't be difficult. Even just the fact that you're here will surely help our campaign image. I hope so, Lucian. We're painted almost completely maroon. Okay, yeah. On our way up, I was greeted by the president of the club, beaming with pride. He immediately shook my hand. Behind him, Mayor Curtin Leslie and Gus Manger were waiting to greet us as well. All of them had FC Anrica pins attached to their collar. Welcome to Anrica, Mr. President. You are always welcome in Anrica, and it is great to see you show support in person. Thanks for being here. This match means a lot for all of us Anricans. And all of Swordland. Never before has a Swordish team reached the stage of the Mercopin Cup. It's great to be here in Anrica. I have high hopes for today. This is a big achievement for Swordish football. Honestly, yeah, this is a big achievement for Swordish football. Football is of rapidly expanding importance in Swordland and beyond. It's good that we see the opportunity in it. The president of the club walked in, handed us gift bags full of FC Anrica merchandise, and gave a speech stressing the importance of today's match. After delivering his best wishes, he kindly pointed us towards the lounge, which was surrounded by heavily armed men. Once I finally found myself inside, I was greeted by an amazing view of the entire pitch through floor-to-ceiling windows. Tarkin Saul was already seated on the leather sofa, casting his hawk-like gaze onto the field. He did not react when I entered. It's good to see you here, Mr. Saul. Leaned on his cane, turned his head to look at me. Mr. Rayne, I didn't hear you come in. He smiled at me and gestured to the vacant spot beside him. Please, join me. I approached the sofa and sat next to him. I didn't expect you to show up today. It's disheartening to see that you're a supporter of FC Anrica and Swordfish Sports. Ah. I didn't know you were a football fan. I know I couldn't miss this historic moment. He gestured to the FC Enrica pin on his suit lapel. It seems you and I are on the same side. I'm sure the team will give it their all, knowing that you and I are watching them. Unless they crack under pressure, of course. Tell me, is everything faring well with your new constitution, Mr. Rayne? Well, there's nothing for you to worry about, Mr. Saul. Now we've put the 1929 Constitution behind us, things are only going to get better. You assume too much, he sighed. Despite all the warning signs, you adamantly followed your own pig-headed vision for Swordland. You continued on the path that Alfonso started, obliterating our economy and throwing the nation into a quagmire of poverty and depression. And you're turning Swordland into a puppet for superpowers to play with. I never would have thought I'd live to see Swordland invaded by imperialists, especially at the invitation of a Swordfish president. I'm warning you, Anton, the path you've chosen will only bring about exploitation and abuse. My path is my own to tread. You have no influence over my presidency, Colonel. I understand your concern, sir, but I beg to differ. I understand your concern, sir, but I beg to differ. In any case, none of that really matters anymore. All incompetent leaders gets what's coming to them in the end, yourself included. If you don't mind, whatever you say, I respect you, Colonel. I wish we had some understanding. Whatever you say, I respect you, Colonel. I wish we had some understanding. Sudden bursts of cheering. Players had begun walking onto the field. Get Mr. Rayne starting. Pointing directly at the group of FC Enrica fans who stood up holding colored boards, creating a massive illustration of Tarkin Saul. Under the portrait, the bottom row of boards slowly revealed the words, "Welcome home, Colonel." I forgot you were from Enrica. It's been some time. If it weren't for my name plastered everywhere in the city, I might have forgotten myself. Another group of fans raised their boards to reveal a silhouette of the famous Hall of Warriors, a Marquine-era architectural ruin in Enrica, with Tarkin Saul in front of it. As the players of Real Montclair lined up in the middle of the field, FC Enrica fans started chanting, "We'll eat you whole for Colonel Saul." Right behind, after the referee signaled the start of the match, the door behind us closed with a thud. Well, Colonel, how do you feel about being Enrica's new poster boy? Looks like it's working well for the city. If you moved back home, I'm sure you'd get free meals and drinks everywhere you went. Alfonso quickly walked up to the sofas, shook our hands, and sat next to us, smiling as he did so. Ha! You know I never had a strong connection to this place. Mr. Listy should have asked my permission before using my name to market his city. Oh, it was actually Gus Manger's idea. Why am I not surprised? He's full of ideas, your Mr. Manger. Except when it comes to the job he's actually supposed to be doing. No need to be so dismissive. Gus has proven himself time and time again. His work rejuvenated Swordfish Industries, and without him, Enrica wouldn't be the city it is today. I must say, Gus has been a very valuable member of my cabinet. Just what we need. Another president enthralled to Mr. Manger and his get-rich-quick schemes. You say that, Mr. Saul, but Mr. Manger is a respectable professional who actually loves his country. More like an errand boy, doing the bidding of those who line his pockets. I don't intend to take a side on this. Take on the role of his personal spokesman. You know, I was in Rizia a few days ago to meet with our energy partners. I was happy to find out that the royals over there appear to be in favor of pursuing friendlier relations with Swordwind. I still don't think they will do anything to harm their connection with Rumberg, but cooperation with them was the right call. They're fond of monarchists now, you all. They must be filling your pockets with Rizian gold. For dust's sake, Mr. Saul, try to see the positive in what I do for once. How about you claim responsibility for once? It is your fault that a giant like Gassam was brought to the brink of collapse. I've done every... Admit it, it was too much of a responsibility for you. A man with your profit-focused mentality should have never been given the keys to such a vital sector. Ewald's lip curled. Mr. Saul is not wrong. What's done is done, Mr. Saul. Let's not start an argument now. To be fair, it's good to see the positive results of our investment. Truth be told, it was an incredible help. Just then, FC Enrica's star midfielder made a breakaway down the field. The crowd erupted into cheers as the ball passed from player to player, each touch bringing it closer to the goal. Look, we're going to score. Too predictable. They won't make it past the other team's defense. As if on cue, Real Montocar's defense made the crucial block, sending the ball back down the field. Are you a real Montecarlo supporter, Colonel? Don't make me laugh. Alfonso turned to me. How about you, Mr. Rayne? It's been a while since we last met. Is everything going well at the palace? Honestly, everything is fine, thank you. That's a relief. Suddenly, a huge roar shook the stadium. The crowd was in a frenzy as FC Enrica finally got the ball past the dominating Rivian defenders. Considering that the country is getting mired in internal conflict, you seem almost too composed and calm, Mr. Rayne. Well, as a president, I have to be, you know how it is, former president. Don't underestimate the power of the government, Mr. Alfonso. I have to be. You know how it is, Mr. Former President. Just then, Montalcar midfielders executed an incredibly fast counterattack, scoring a goal that put them ahead in just a few seconds. The Soldier's side of the stadium fell completely silent. It was bad luck getting a top-tier Rizian team as our opponent. I still applaud our guys for giving their best. Not even SC Gelsford has ever come this far in an international tournament. Why so bleak? It's not even halftime yet. Enrica can still come out on top. Don't expect that to make sense for him. You are talking to Ewald Alfonso. Sure, I'll be a punching bag for both of you today. Shouting from the Rizian side, Montaclar. All eyes were glued to the scoreboard as the new score appeared. FC Enrica 0, Real Montalcar 1. From that moment on, we turned our complete attention to the match in front of us. The Rizian players kept dominating the field. The referee blew the whistle. It was halftime. That was rough. We heard a noise from above us. A Zeppelin was flying over the stadium with a giant poster hanging beneath it. I noticed there was an advertisement for the Alfonso Foundation. At the center of the poster stood Ewald Alfonso, portrayed with a warm smile and a twinkle in his eye. In his outstretched hand, he held a whimsical compass, glowing with a soft golden light. Surrounding him were people from all walks of life and cultures. The tagline, written in elegant and uplifting typography, was prominently displayed at the bottom. Alfonso Foundation, bringing hope to those in need, one act of kindness at a time. Really? I'm asking for donations at football matches? How does a non-profit even afford this ad? I'm doing my best to increase our exposure and to help the homeless in this country. This isn't some commercial advertisement. Just then, the speakers in the stadium started playing a sound recording in full volume. Ladies and gentlemen, we bring you a message from the Alfonso Foundation, dedicated to spreading kindness and hope to the less fortunate. Picture a swordland where compassion shines brighter than the stars in the night sky, where the power of generosity uplifts those who need it most. That swordland can exist thanks to the Alfonso Foundation. Led by the charismatic and esteemed President Ewald Alfonso, this foundation is on a mission to make a difference in the lives of our fellow citizens, one act of kindness at a time. You call this kindness? Every Swordfish Wren you donate to the Alfonso Foundation helps us provide shelter, food, and a chance for a brighter future to those without a home, without hope. Thanks to the donations of President Ewald Alfonso and esteemed figures like President Anton Rayne, as well as thousands of Swordfish citizens, the Alfonso Foundation has already lifted thousands out of homelessness. You too, Mr. Rayne? I thought you would see through this scheme. Won't you join us in this noble endeavor? Just call the number 1600 Alfonso to make your contributions today. Your support will help us extend a helping hand to those in need. The recording ended with a few seconds of upbeat jazzy background music that slowly faded out. It was good to see that you're at least helping the poor is in some way. That is commendable. Thanks for the support. You're both mad. You had your whole term to plan affordable housing programs. Instead, you pass the buck to Mr. Rayne here. And now you're wasting your time on crap like this. Is this your way of personal redemption? Spending a few rens out of your billions and portraying yourself as your savior? Unlike you, Mr. Saul, I'm not portraying myself as a hero here. I retired from politics just like you did. I'm now using my clout to help the poor. What's so wrong about this? You know, I never called myself a hero, you all. It was my supporters who portrayed me as one. Don't spin the truth. Maybe they didn't have any other choice back then. Despite everything, we can't deny the millions of people who loved and respected Mr. Saul. That is the reality. I'm not saying otherwise, but I must remind you, those same people who also stood in the way of progress. Are you still sore about the party giving you a hard time after I left? Admit it, Ewald. You never could accept being a less popular leader. You hated living under the shadow of what I built. It's true, I did hate working inside your shadow empire, but I succeeded in dismantling a lot of those obstacles you laid out for me, and opening the way for reform. But you never let the party go free. So it was I who controlled each and every member. I was behind every problem that you faced within the USB? Do you really believe that? You are the founder of the party, Mr. Saul. Don't even try to deny your influence over it. I still remember how the party became divided after you stopped supporting me. It is on them for being blind to the progress we were making. So I'll still make up the bulk of the USB today. Everybody is aware of your influence, Mr. Saul. Instead of blaming the party, why don't you take a look at yourselves? The same party has voted me out on their own volition in preference of the likes of you. According to you, their only correct decision must have been to elect you as the leader, and the rest are completely wrong. Do you think everything is a problem that is specifically created to block you? Take a look at yourself. You are the personification of what you're trying to criticize. You have a point, Mr. Saul, but don't act like you're above us all. That's an empty argument. The party and the government were in that state due to your actions over 20 years. You know that you're still trying to pull the strings behind the scenes. Correct. They built a republic within 2 decades in the harshest political climate, and they reached a state of being able to elect and oust their own leaders. Oh, what a disastrous state to be in. Suddenly, we turned our head to the field as a massive roar shook the stadium. Second half was already in full swing, and the Enrican players were aggressively attacking, weaving in and out of defenders with speed. Suddenly, the ball was passed to the famous Sworders striker, Hakens Latter, who was in front of the goal. I noticed Saul shifting in his seat. His gaze suddenly locked on the field. The Sworders crowd went crazy as Latter's powerful shot brought the ball to the back of the Rizian net. Yes, says Alfonso. Ewald jumped from his seat. Suddenly, the cheering was interrupted by the linesman raising a flag, marking an offside call. Bullshit. That wasn't offside. To be fair, nobody here cares. The referee is trying to sabotage us. He was clearly in front of the defenders when he received the ball. Do not come. Halt your endless bickering. The linesman made the right call. The angle was all wrong. Decisions like that shouldn't be made without proper evaluation. What next? You're going to install cameras and analyze every position from different angles? The excitement in the stadium reached a fever pitch as the Sworders striker dribbled the ball past 2 defenders and took a shot at the goal again. The crowd held its breath as the ball sailed through the air, but the Montalcar goalkeeper made a miraculous save. Damn, that was close. He suddenly pointed to a group of people who were holding signs in the front row. Do you see that? It was a group of Enricans who were holding signs that read, "Soldiers, leave your barracks. Colonel's home is in need." They need to be arrested for putting up such signs. How liberal of you, Ewald. Colonel is right. They're free to express themselves. Is this your doing too, Mr. Saul? Wait, this type of statements are not that uncommon, Enrico. Home of the Colonel, remember? Suddenly a wave of shouting made us focus back on the field. An Enrican player was shown a yellow card. With only a few minutes left on the clock, it looked as though the match would end with a 1-0 loss for FC Enrico. Suddenly everything changed. Number 10 of Real Montalcar dribbled expertly towards the goal and effortlessly scored as Enrican defenders watched him in shock. I knew it. We watched in silence as the scoreboard was modified to display FC Enrico 0, Real Montalcar 2. The Brazilian side broke into a massive applause as the referee blew the final whistle. Well then, that settles it. You should go down and console the boys. We left the lounge and went downstairs to congratulate the team for their efforts. I wonder if there's a way for the football team to win. Heartbreak for FC Montalcar. Alright, now we go to the UN. Oh, it's possible. Cool. I, David Whiskey, and the rest of the Sworders delegation to the Alliance of Nations arrived in Kairout. The local police escorted us to the Alliance headquarters in the downtown Constantium, immediately recognizable by its shining dome. On entering the building, we were met by a parliamentary guide who briefed us about the procedures. After a strict security screening, the staff ushered us to the 3rd floor. You go out on the pitch yourself and score the winning goal. Yeah, maybe with some bribery to the officials. We entered the massive circular assembly hall and took our designated seats. David sat next to me. All of the world's most powerful people under the gleaming dome. One wrong word and the world will go up to hell. I'm glad to be among them. It's amazing how someone managed to fill a room with people that absolutely love each other. It is truly astounding. Humanity has come far. How are you feeling, Anton? Ever since the assassination attempt, I'm amazed that you've been holding up so well. But it must have been tough for Miss Rayne and the kids. We managed somehow. We managed somehow. It's tough to be president, making harsh decisions and dealing with their consequences. I wish I could have supported you more, but the time has been a cruel mistress. You have done so far is more than enough. Your advice wasn't that good anyway. For what it's worth, I appreciate all the advice you've given me. Thank you, Anton. Well, the session is about to start. Let's get comfortable. After a short opening speech, President Nines called the first speaker to the floor. It is my great pleasure to invite the Prime Minister of Lesbia to address the Assembly. Patricia Alvarez stood and walked to the podium as the Assembly applauded. Mr. President, it is my pleasure to return to this podium. David leaned in and spoke in a low voice. Let's see how crazy this year's session will get. Let's see. I'm surprised he isn't drunk. When I last spoke here, the message I gave was encouragement and support to this organization and the vital role it plays. Of all the challenges Eastern Mercopa and the whole world has faced since then, one has grown larger and more imminent than any other. The threat of the so-called socialist states and the actions taken by their authoritarian rulers with no regard to international law. A loud noise came from the table of Volksland. I saw Emmerich Hegel pounding his fist on the table in protest. Look at that guy, he's an embarrassment. David nodded. Today, the need to come together as the leader of the free world is more important than ever. Leaders of the free world. The CSP, under the leadership of United Contana, has been fueling Volksland's military-industrial complex and its expansionist aims in Eastern Mercopa. The world cannot turn a blind eye to the increasing naval presence of Auckland in the Narcan Sea. We hereby call for the immediate withdrawal of all naval vessels with any offensive capability from international waters. A lot of noise came from the assembly hall in response. Most of the Western Mercoba delegates were clapping, while others either shouted in protest or sat in stony silence. Let us not forget about the recent events that transpired in another state with socialist teachings, a state that wages war against its own innocent citizens, Welland. He has a point. David nodded intently. Their purge of the minorities in their country was again largely ignored by the international community. I'd go as far as to call it a genocide. Our Welland violated our past treaties and mobilized their armed forces, deploying them close to our borders and authorizing them to partake in massacres. Lesbia was affected not only by large waves of refugees coming from Welland, but by the subsequent government seizure of all our companies that were active in the country. We hereby call all the member states to action against Welland and its rogue government. Thank you. I will clap. President Nines waited for the noise to calm down. The next speaker will be Victor Smolak, president of Welland. Smolak stood up as he walked past Patricio Alvarez. He brushed him aside with an exaggerated sweep of his arms. When he reached the podium, he fumbled with the microphone for a few seconds, and then he smiled at Alvarez mockingly as he raised the height of it. Look at all the theatrics. Yes, that's him. Victor turned to the President Nines and bowed slightly. Mr. President. He turned back at us and stared out into the hall for a few seconds. Fellow delegates, it is true that the world of today faces a multitude of challenges. In the midst of these challenges, the world's most powerful leaders gather here in Kairoot. And what do? They make threats, promote hate, and spread lies. Is this the alliance of nations we all want? Where's the cooperation and friendship? Where's the unity? I want to remind you of the wars that the West fought on our soil, of the foreign troops who occupied our country and seized our valuable resources. I want to remind you how they stole the oil from our sacred soil, and they did not know when to stop. The Ato soldiers left, but their interference never ceased. They financed armed rebel groups whose only purpose is to create terror inside our country. So, fellow delegates, don't you dare speak about Welland before you acknowledge your involvement in our civil war, before you acknowledge your own dark past. That's an empty argument. It doesn't justify what Welland did. What did you expect, Mr. President? It's President Smolak. As is well known, the tremendous tragedy of the Welland Civil War, Arcasia made a deal with the United Cartana, where they agreed upon the withdrawal of their troops, along with the removal of half our army. Not only did they weaken us, we were left alone in facing the genocidal Bluish Freedom Front, which Ato funds together with Rumberg. I will show you some of the evidence of foreign interference. I picked up a large stack of papers and waved them back and forth. I have clear evidence of direct aid from Rumberg to the Bluish Freedom Front. They smuggled tons of Ka-74s in Welland. They smuggled in their spies, smuggled in mercenary commanders. Got balls taking on Rumberg in the West like that. These documents will be published everywhere. Copies have already been sent to the investigative affairs of the Alliance of Nations. I expect this organization to do its task and investigate this properly, instead of leaving Welland behind, as they have always done. Coming back to the claims of the Lesbian representative. First, there is no evidence of civilian massacres by the Wessex forces, nor so-called purges of minorities. Second, the operation was limited only to the militant BFF, not the Bloods in general. Third, we know your government is also implicated in the funding of the BFF, and that your oil companies aided their militants during the operation. Fourth, as a state, we only took what was ours. The companies the delegate spoke of were not only aiding militants, they were brought to Welland by force. We know that Welland will no longer recognize the right of any other country to determine what type of weapons we are permitted to possess or what type of policies we follow within our borders. Welland stands stronger and more united than ever. Our people have spoken. The enemies inside our borders are crushed. Now I ask every delegate here to read our report on the connections of the West with the armed militants in Eastern Maricopa, and I ask the Alliance of Nations to do what's right. Welland only wants peace. Our people want peace. They are counting on the support and understanding of all the nations of the world. Their proclamation is Free Welland or Death. The assembly roared, with particularly loud applause coming from the seats of the Rican nations. That was a strong speech. It will certainly be remembered. Richter slowly walked back to his seat. As he applauded himself, he saluted the Rican delegates as he passed them. Next, President Nines invited Martin Van Horten to the podium. He walked up to the microphone with quick steps. He was frowning and clenching his fists. I could almost see his jaw trembling. He looks pissed. Can you blame him? His navy is being harassed by Volksland every day now. Mr. President, fellow delegates of the Assembly, and friends, it is an honor to be with you today. I wish we could meet under different circumstances. Once again, the CSP nations, and in particular Volksland, have shown that what they're willing to do to achieve their political aims. I must first thank the delegates from Swordland for being brave enough to support Agnolia when the world left us alone. We're one of the first countries to propose proper cooperation among Eastern Maricopan nations. Yet when we were threatened by Volkslandian expansionism, nobody came to our side. Although Mr. Alvarez voiced his indirect support for us earlier in today's session, I can't keep myself from wondering where he was when our fleets were under attack by the very socialists he spoke about. So here I am, asking for the support of fellow members, states of the Alliance of Nations. Agnolia is under attack by Volksland. A loud banging noise emerged from the table of Volkslandian delegates. All of them were pounding their fists on their table. Yeah. Those delegates need to learn some respect. That's for sure. Mr. President, please moderate the assembly. This is more than disrespectful. Nines repeatedly banged his gavel. Order! Order? There will only be order when this coward stops smearing Volksland's good name. Silence, Chancellor. Mr. Prime Minister, please continue. As you all know, our drilling ships, oil tankers, and even fishing vessels have been disappearing in the Marxian Sea, captured or sunk by Volksland. And the Volksland fleet is patrolling the seas around Highland with complete disregard to international laws. I call on the Alliance of Nations to find a resolution to this never-ending conflict that Volksland created. We demand the immediate withdrawal of all naval forces from our territorial waters. Millennialist terror surrounds us on all sides. I call the democratic world to action against the tyranny of millennialism, authoritarianism, militarism, and extremism. The banging noise started again. Hegel stood up and approached the rostrum. You are a spineless jerk, a lackey of Arcasian imperialism. President Nine started hitting the gavel again. Look at the old man go. All of your complaints against us are a direct result of your capitalist and neo-colonialist systems. President Nines, please, what is this? Order! President Nine smacked his gavel in vain as a shouting match broke out in the assembly. Finally, after a few minutes, the other Volkslandian delegates convinced Hegel to sit back down. I believe I don't need to speak for more about this subject. Everything is clear as day. Mr. Hegel's actions speak volumes about the reality of Volksland and their corrupted ideology. I hope to see this conflict resolved with the help of the Alliance of Nations soon. He quickly left the podium and nodded to the other Agnolian delegate. The two left the assembly hall. Next speaker on the list is Emmerich Hegel of Volksland. Mr. Chancellor, I will remind you to respect the principles of civility and decorum in these halls. Hegel immediately took his place and spoke in a low, soothing tone. Thank you, Mr. President. David, buckle up. It's the Chancellor's time now. It looks like you're having fun, Mr. President. First of all, I want to extend a due welcome to the new states from Rica that have joined this organization. After fighting for years against colonialism and imperialism, they more than earned our membership vote. I am overjoyed to see them finally represented in this assembly. As our numbers grow and more states are represented in in this stage, we come ever closer to finding resolutions to the conflicts that plague us. For hundreds of years, the dominant economies of Mercopa raised, pillaged, and exploited the continents of Rika and Xena. Sadly, Volksland was also a part of this plunder in the years before the revolution, when it still clung to the idea of imperialism. But when our masses found their voice, the old colonial powers and their new financiers turned against them. These powers did whatever they could to hamper our revolutions. They did not want the people to be heard. They are scared of us for showing the possibility of a better path. Of course, they don't want us to succeed. We threaten the productivity that runs on the blood and sweat of their working class. And now they have started labeling us the aggressors. Yet we all know it was the Arcasians who built up military bases all around Mercopa. There was Ato that was first formed to fight against millennialism. Bullshit. Do you think so? He's not entirely wrong. Volksland holds the right to protect its territorial waters and trade from threats. The delegates from Lesbia and Agnolia brought up the Falenko Treaty. But what are they doing when Ato forces patrolled the Antakian Sea? They were silent. What about Hyliand? How about the Volks being killed by Agnolian government because they protested against an appointed governor? Agnolia and their allies in Sortland have no right to claim they are upholding liberty and democracy. Other nations have no right to intervene in the matters between Agnolia and Volksland. Just as no country in the world has the right to determine what type of naval vessels we use, no country can force us not to defend our seas. If there's a conflict the Alliance can resolve, let's start with the Arcasian base on Ravnos Island. Lesbia has been housing Arcasian troops and missiles by our border for years, and none of the member states even talked about it. I want the member states to look into the Arcasian bases in both Lesbia and Swordland. And if the Alliance of Nations truly claims to have the people's best interests at heart, they cannot stay silent about what the Agnolian government did in Hyliand, how they took away the rights of our people. Perhaps then there can be a proper dialogue between our nations, and the Alliance of Nations can finally demonstrate that it can serve its intended purpose. But unfortunately, the Alliance of Nations remains all too willing to overlook such human rights violations. However, the Volkslandian government is ready to, as always, to fight the forces of oppression and colonial servitude on behalf of free people everywhere. You raise the left fist. I revoluten vescore. Is that Swordich? Did I catch that right? He said the revolution will come. Yes, it was in Old Volgish. Very similar to Swordich, right? Some words are even written the same way, but I'm surprised we caught that from his accent. Most of the delegates from Xena, Rika, and Contana responded with thunderous applause. Hegel shook hands with them as he walked back to his seat. President Nines announced the next speaker, Queen Beatrice Livingston. Dear President of the Assembly, dear delegates, dear leaders of the world. Just as my fellow Eastern Mercopan delegates spoke about the troubles plaguing our continent, I also have to bring attention to the plight of the people of the North. The Alliance of Nations, the ATO, the CSP, and even the OMIC have never supported our people when they have been through tragic atrocities. Unlike many of the Western countries here, we never received financial aid when natural disasters struck our lands. The pain of our people was never recognized, not even when they faced the threat of genocide by the hands of the Swedish kings. In light of all that, I implore this alliance to take a closer look at the actions of our southern neighbors. They took in traitors and gave them protection. Their president himself came to power amid murder and unrest, yet people from his administration had the guts to blame our government for inciting violence. And they expect the world to believe their lies. That hag. let's first hear her out. I hereby invite all of you to determine the initiation of a proper intergovernmental investigation into Sorland. If the Alliance continues to shirk its given duties, you can trust in Rumberg to take matters into her own hands. It is also important to point out that Rumberg will not stand idly by if more Arcasian military are transferred to Eastern Markopa. I hereby condemn both Ato and Sordland for allowing Arcasia to settle in our region. Before I finish, I also want to say, Mr. Smolak, I look forward to reading your report. I wonder what this so-called evidence is all about. We shoot her at the very least? I would like to. We know that your slander does not work on us. Know that we are ready to die for our freedom. Know that our kingdom stands firm and strong. Expect a grand awakening. Thank you. That was the worst speech I've ever heard. She left the rostrum without getting much applause. Then President Nines announced the next speaker. Mr. Anton Rayne, President of Sortland, I invite you to address the assembly. David immediately started applauding. Good luck, Mr. President. I walked up to the rostrum and took my place at the podium. In front of me were some of the most powerful leaders in the entire world. I looked them in the eyes. Thank you, Mr. President, fellow delegates. It's an honor to be here. The representation of Sordlin is pleased to address the assembly. Anybody who ascends this rostrum must appreciate what a significant gathering he is addressing. Sordlin remains committed to the Alliance of Nations and the ideals that gave birth to it. I would like to stress the importance of these words, Alliance of Nations. Blah, blah, blah. We must remain devoted to the dream of a peaceful and free world, a united world. Our world is faced with the dangers of division, the dangers of large military alliance, and nuclear arms races. Now it is more important than ever to set aside our differences and unite under this charter. It's time to ask hard questions. Ask if this organization is achieving any of its aims. Now I'd like to address some of the topics mentioned here today. It was earlier claimed. We are deeply saddened by the tragic events that took place in Welland. Sodlin stands together with the Blutish people. I also would like to express my support to Mr. Van Horten. Sordlin stands together with Agnolia. We will keep its stance, and will keep its stance against Volkslandian aggression. Sordlin will do whatever it takes to achieve peace in Eastern Markopa. And Rectangle pounded his fist on the table again. Peace! You can achieve nothing! You are a puppet of Arcasia. Slammed his gavel down. Respond to Emmer Kegel. Mr. Chancellor, learn to have some respect. You are a puppet of Millenniev. Slammed his gavel down again. This is not the forum for such arguments, President Rayne. Please continue. Next, I would like to address the Queen of Rumberg. She talked about some hypothetical threat. Sorlin has always wanted to have peace between our nations, yet we are being threatened by Rumberg. We will never recognize your vile words against us. I condemn your actions and your speech. We wanted to be diplomatic, even when Rumberg shot down our plane. Sorlin only wanted peace, not baseless accusations and threats. I hereby call on the Alliance of Nations to support Swordland. We are facing an existential threat. Thank you for listening to our concerns. I wish to see a resolution from the AN soon. And can no longer fail to recognize the machinations of the enemies of peace. Long live the Alliance of Nations, long live unity and peace. Decisions according to the wishes of the people of the world. We're honored to have expressed our concerns before this noble assembly. Peace in Maricopa, peace in the world. Patricia Oliver stood up and started applauding. Well spoken. I heard thunderous applause from half of the assembly. Thank you. I left the podium. How was it? It was not a bad speech, Mr. President. You did well. President Nines announced the next speaker, Dwight Walker. Mr. President, I want to congratulate you on your election to this high office. Mr. Secretary, delegates of the Alliance of Nations, ladies and gentlemen, fellow friends. We meet again on our quest to bring peace and light into this world. Even though some of the clouds have lifted, the world has not yet escaped the darkness. The Contanin Security Pact is rapidly expanding its influence. It is very troubling to see democratic nations of Maricopa be threatened by those Melenivius powers. Yeah, he's totally not Mr. Nixon. I refer, of course, to the presence of Luxlandian and Contanin fleets in the Marquian Sea. They are harassing other nations and hampering international trade. Is this not an attack against world peace? An attack against free trading nations of the world? Today, our obligations to the world peace are being tested by United Contana and the Melenivius bloc. We failed to counter this threat. We stay idle and allow them to surround us with their war machines and blockades. The attackers do not face any consequences. Then this unstable peace we believe that we built will be the world's downfall, and posterity will point its finger at us for not stopping it. Americ Hegel and the other Velgaslandian delegates started making noise again. This time Hegel had taken off his shoe and was banging it on the table. Clear Khrushchev reference? I have no words. The Chancellor's gone mad. It's getting ridiculous. He's not even ashamed at his age. By his claims, the CSP's actions will only bring about war. Yet we still believe the United Contana and Arcasia, together with their allies, can come to an understanding for our mutual benefit and our desire to avoid the destruction of the world. We believe that all people of the world must be free to choose their own future. No country, be it Arcasia or United Contana, has the right to impose its values on others. But I will say this to the leaders of the United Contana: if either of us is to be secure, we need a peaceful cooperation, not defense systems, forced blockades, or shows of naval superiority. The Alliance of Nations cannot find a resolution to this conflict. The ATO remains ready and able to react. Hegel stood up with his shoe in his hand. What is that supposed to mean? You're promoting war in the Alliance of Nations? Mr. President, this cannot... Nine slammed his gavel down. Silence! Mr. Chancellor, please let me finish. We did not interrupt you when you addressed the Assembly. I must also raise my concerns about the threat that Rumberg poses to Eastern Maricopa. Speakers who preceded me clearly showed that tensions are rising. The reports from Welland and Swordland are troubling. Arcasia and the ATO will stand against the aggression of Rumberg. They are playing a dangerous game, one that may bring ruin to Maricopa and their own lands. I believe the Alliance of Nations can find a resolution to this conflict as well. If not, let it be known that Arcasia will stand together with Swordland. Rumberg cannot do as it pleases. Think Rumberg can pursue any more aggression after that statement? I doubt that. With our membership in ATO and Arcasia's clear support, the Queen needs to be crazy to try anything. Finally, I propose the Alliance of Nations undertake the noble cause of helping the people of the world through rewriting the properly enforcing its human rights declaration. The Alliance of Nations cannot survive as a static organization. Its size and duties are increasing enormously. It should adapt to a changing world. Um, but peace and rights do not rest in the hands of this organization alone. They rely on the hearts of our people and the spirits of cooperation between our nations. So let me know, my fellow inhabitants of this world, let us take our stand and see if we can finally achieve a lasting peace. Thank you. Most of the assembly applauded his speech, the Edo delegates in particular. Stand up and applaud his speech. The applause continued for some time. Walker shook hands with various delegates on his way back to his seat. President Stein spoke into the microphone once more. We have a final speaker before the break, Leon Maleniev of the United Contana. Maleniev slowly walked to the rostrum in his iconic suit. All the CSP delegates stood and applauded him. Honorable Chairman and fellow delegates of the Alliance of Nations. Here we are again at the most esteemed meeting of state representatives in the world. However, increasingly we are being threatened, disregarded, attacked, or ignored in this assembly. The representatives of Arcasia has just shown this unfriendly attitude towards us yet again. Arcasia would have you believe we are standing in the way of lasting peace, yet the peace they talk about was only possible thanks to our missiles and our growing base in the developing world. The Edo kept waging wars against people's revolutions and forcing new independent states to be their puppets, blinding them to themselves through the Arcasian lira. And now yet another Arcasian president is telling us that we are the aggressors and they are the keepers of peace. We will not be silent anymore against these lies. When was this peace you talked about? Where was this cooperation between our countries? Have you ever accepted our invitation to talk about denuclearization? If you don't like us, don't accept our ideals, don't listen to our concerns, and keep pointing fingers at us, why did you invite us to the Alliance of Nations? Every year, United Contana comes to this assembly to address the real problems of real people, people who suffer because of your systems, your wars, and your ignorance. Whether you like it or not, we'll keep representing the laborers, the slaves, the oppressed of this world, and believe it or disregard it, history is on our side. We say to the representatives of capitalist countries, come and visit us, come and see the revolution working in Contana. Show our continent that you're people without distorting the reality. If you cannot do that, then you need not come. We believe socialism will triumph over capitalism in the end. Such is the logical conclusion of the development of humankind. This time, the lesbian delegates started laughing very loudly. Some other delegates booed. Join in with the laughing. Maleniev is living in his dreams. You think? You can keep laughing, gentlemen. Communism will bury you. Suddenly, the laughing turned into shouting. If you really believe in cooperation, we will be waiting. We are not going anywhere. However, if the Edo keeps intervening in our matters, it is natural that the CSP would react. Despite the threats of the Edo, Rumberg, or any other nation or organization, we must not succumb to further division and violence. We must ask ourselves, what do the people of our countries expect of us? They surely don't want war and bloodshed. So let us leave our children and grandchildren good memories of our time and a better future for all. Let them look at history and say, once there were great divisions and complex problems, but the leaders of the world came together in the Alliance of Nations and succeeded in settling them in order to ensure our peaceful lives. Let us act in such a way to make this session not a session of threats, but a session of hopes and the realization of them. The government of United Contana and the United Peoples of Contana are ready to serve their duties for world peace. Long live the People's Revolution. Don't react. The assembly broke into massive applause. The applause continued for some time. Maleniev slowly walked back to his seat. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We will reconvene later in the day for the final agenda items and closing remarks. David stood and stretched his arms. That was a lot. Yes, let's grab some lunch. Lead the way. We walked out of the hall to have some lunch and fresh air. Alright, what's in the news? Chancellor Hegel's disgrace at Alliance of Nations has ended with many important takeaways. However, the highlight of the gathering was without a doubt Chancellor Hegel. In a display of shameful behavior, Chancellor Hegel had repeatedly interrupted the Agnolian Prime Minister, went so far as to Exactly. Ato grants a guard observer status, addressing the drug trade. Okay. Ato modernizes Sortland Air Force. Oh, we already knew about that one. Peaceful protest turns. Actually, what was it? Maneuver exercises as well as nighttime bombing training. Peaceful protest turns violent. Navy oversees import and export flow. Republic Avenue looted. Election poll results will show us that roughly 16% of Solar citizens would vote for the USP in the upcoming election. The SP warns Grace against formation of anti-Millennialist Union. Okay. What's going on in the whole thread? A private meeting with David Whiskey. David had scheduled a private meeting with me, but he didn't specify what it was about. I heard a knock at the door. Mr. President, may I come in? Yes, David, please come in. Thank you. He slowly made his way towards the chair in front of my desk and sat down. First of all, thank you for your time. Anything for you, David? I wanted to ask you how you were doing. I'm fine, thanks for asking. That's very good. Please be sure to take some time for yourself amid all this. If you ignore the mental fatigue, it will slowly creep in on you. It will poison your thoughts. Thank you for your valuable advice. Thank you for taking my advice over the years. He started coughing. What a privilege for me. I had the chance to watch my student grow into a fine and strong leader in my lifetime. What a privilege indeed. You have brought reform to Sutherland. You, my student, actually did it. You don't know how proud I was to be alongside you. It wouldn't be possible without you. You are too kind, Mr. President. This time for longer. I overheard a conversation the other day near a newspaper stand. It piqued my interest, so I kept listening. They were talking about you. They were calling you a radical centrist. What do you think about that? Well, they weren't wrong. I am a centrist. My father, Arthur S. Whiskey, used to say, I always know yourself. It's good to know that you do. So the elections are fast approaching. How are you feeling about your chances? We will win, no matter what. I can't say for sure, but I'm hopeful. Good, that's what a leader should say. I'm afraid I have an announcement to make you. Go on. After my term is done, I will be retiring. I would be lying if I said I wasn't expecting it. I've been in this line of work for many decades now. I swore it off to myself years ago. I would quit if I ever felt like I didn't have the physical capabilities to serve anymore. At this point, I would welcome a hindrance. Time has come, Mr. President. My bones are aching, my hands are shaking, my voice is failing. Besides, I'm sure you can find a younger minister who's a little more full of life. He winked at me and chuckled, which turned into another cough. You will be sorely missed, David. It was an honor, Mr. President. Hug David. Before I go, I want to mention something. Grabbed my arm, lowering his voice. We are probably being watched, so I must be very brief. Be careful of the military. I think they are planning something. I have lived long enough to see 2 coups in my lifetime. Let's just say I have gotten better at recognizing the signs. You must remember what happened to my father, Anton. Just be careful and take care of your family. Take this as the last piece of advice from me. Best of luck, Anton. Thank you. He turned around and left. We're probably about to be cooed. Cortana Security Pact. Vice President Gilead shines during campaign. Women for Rayne. Marcel Conranti endorsed President Rayne. We just need to run with our -4. Yeah. Challenging President Rayne following will determine the party's future leadership. Okay, what's in the news? Lydia's graph challenges Anton Rayne. People's Front coming strong. Archaea's strategic checks on CSP forces. Soldier's foreign minister retires. Yeah, okay. Friday afternoon in the office. Well, that sounds nice. Door open and Lucian entered. Mr. President, there's a problem. What kind of a problem? Mr. Hall wants to speak with you. He's in the White Room. Please follow me. Do you know what this is about? I was just told to come get you, sir. Simon was sitting playing with the pen in front of him. Good evening. Mr. President, I'm here to let you know that I will be handing you my resignation shortly. Your resignation? What is the meaning of this? Exactly what it looks like. I am resigning from my position in the cabinet. I simply cannot go on anymore. Talk to me. What can I do? How can I help you better? I'm sorry, but I have already made my decision. I won't turn back on it. I suppose I owe you my reasons. I failed my mission as the Minister of Economy. During our term, instead of stopping the session, we have made it worse and entered the Sorter's Depression. I blame myself for this. I couldn't offer you better solutions. I have proven I am unfit to serve as the Minister of Sworden. I'll resign at the end of our term. Thank you. It's been a pleasure to work with you. Likewise, Mr. President. I have no choice but to accept your resignation. Well, that can't be good. Yeah, I think we do as well. We're getting a lot of empty seats in the cabinet. Future of Rayne's cabinet. United Sortland Party Congress. This is the United Sortland Party Congress. For the third time in the Party of Sortland's history, a candidate was challenging an incumbent president. Serge was driving me to the Grand National Assembly for the historic event. Looked out the window as we passed through the small forest. Okay. I thought about the day I announced my candidacy against Ewald Alfonso while he was still president. Then I remembered how just a few years before that, Ewald had challenged Tarkin Saul. How are you feeling back there, sir? I'm okay, Serge. How are you doing? I'm good as I can be, sir. Serge made a left turn of the forest and entered the vast garden areas of the assembly. I still don't believe how Miss Grev could turn against you. She owed her position to you. Some people have no respect or gratitude, Serge. Indeed, sir. It makes me sad to see a respectable woman like Miss Graff act in such a way. He parked the car in front of the gate and led us to the USP's wings of the assembly. Good luck, Mr. President. See you on the way back. Thank you, Serge. I entered the building and joined the crowd of influential politicians, lobbyists, benefactors who gathered for this turning point. It was almost time for the debate. The crowd dispersed, and the members of the USP went inside to the Congress Hall. United Sortland banners hung from every possible spot. I tried to mentally prepare for my speech, but the lingering memories from the first two leadership races were making it hard for me to focus. As if on cue, Lilia strode past me into the hall, accompanied by a large group of her supporters. Instead of her usual beige, she wore a sun-yellow skirt and blazer. Gloria Torre was on her right. Yosef was on her left. Oh boy. I tried to ignore them as I entered the hall. I took a seat next to Lucian and waited for the session to begin. Mr. President, time to face Lilias. How are you feeling about the vote? The cabinet resignations cost you quite a bit of support. It's not an optimal situation. It's going to be a very close race, but I'm positive that if you remind them who you are right before the vote, you can win the day. Let's see. Sir, look, it's starting. He pointed at the podium. Albin Calvin was there. He was about to introduce the candidates. Ladies and gentlemen, the hall fell silent as it continued. We gather here today on the 20th Congress of the Suzerain Party for the third leadership race in its history. As one of the youngest members of the Assembly, I am honored to be opening the historic session today. The members of the USP will soon be voting on whether President Rayne or Lilius Graf shall assume leadership going forward. Before we begin the election process, I would like to invite both candidates to give a very short speeches. First, I would like to invite Anton Rayne, the fourth president of Suzerain and the chairman of our party. I walked to the podium amid applause and campaign music and shook hands before I began addressing the party. Thank you, Alvin. Brothers and sisters, together we have achieved a lot in the past 4 years. I took office to reform this country. I took on the responsibility to fix our constitution. And together we succeeded. And I fought through the Assembly and the Supreme Court to make it a reality. But I'm here to do more, to bring meaningful change. Help me continue our fight to make this country great. I promise you, I will not let you down. I promise to bring this recession under control in no time. Let's unite under the flag one more time. Do not fall to Miss Graf's lies. She betrayed our trust by leaving a very important office. I don't think Miss Graf can provide any alternative. Do not fall for Miss Graf's lies. She betrayed our trust by leaving a very important office. Do you want to give control of this party to a woman who ran away from her duties? Give me your support. Let's bring this country together. And you will do the right thing. Let's get this over with. Elect me again so we can continue our great transformation. A Morgana West Corps. I shook my hand and I walked back to my seat to the sound of applause. It was a good speech, sir. Congratulations. Thank you again for your speech, Mr. President. Now I'd like to invite the next candidate to the stage. She is one of the most experienced and respected members of this party. We all know her from her accomplishments in Ivory and Holsford and Sordlin's Ministry of the Interior. Let's welcome the former Minister of the Interior of Sordlin, Lilius Graf. Lilius walked up to the podium, accompanied by an old nationalist song about the Swedish Civil War. Aletta Inta Norkmi. The light in the darkness. Her eyes held a fire in them I had never seen before. Fellow compatriots, it is an honor to be a candidate for the leadership of our great United Sordlin Party. She pulled out a handkerchief and dabbed at her eyes. Forgive me, this beautiful song always fills me with emotion. My opponent might call that a weakness. I consider it a strength. It brings me hope to see all the energy in this Congress Hall today, but I hope alone does not suffice. I don't want to listen to songs any longer. I want us to sing them from the rooftop. What it is you want, sons and daughters of Sordlin, I'll tell you right now. You want a president who will stand bravely against the wealthy elites in their mansions, rather than kowtow to their every demand. You want a Sordlin that protects its own, rather than letting in foreigners who have no respect for our culture. You want a strong and united Sordlin, and I'm here to tell you that none of these things are possible as long as Anton Rayne is in office. Those who rule in the state become more and more alienated from the values that make us who we are. And the deplorables who stand silent against this sink us deeper into a quagmire of moral and cultural corruption. That her butler should, yeah. He tore his own wife away from her rightful place at home and forced her into politics in the name of women's liberation. He even worked with the enemies of the state to legitimize their secessionist aspirations, tearing our beloved Bergia off from Sordlin and turning it into a semi-independent region for the Blues. And he did all of that without even managing to fix the recession. Sordish people are still suffering. He is a disgrace to the name of Tarkin Saul. We cannot allow him to taint the accomplishments of this party any further. Oh, screw you, Lilius. Don't worry, sir. Let her say what she wants. The results won't change. After nearly 4 years of the president behaving abominably against all of my advice, I had no choice but to tender my resignation, for I believed we could achieve much more, for I still believe in the idea of a united Swordland. I appeal to your innate sense of honor and dignity as Swordish people. Elect me as your leader, and I promise that with the Lord on my side, I shall elevate this party and this glorious nation to the heavens. Mr. Rayne, your time leading this country is through. I am here to bring down the walls you built. Thank you, a Magorna Westcor. Don't do anything. I filled out my ballot, marking an X next to my own name, and lined up to drop it in the ballot box. After all the votes were cast, we sat back down and waited for the announcement. After some time, Albin appeared on the stage again. Thank you everybody for voting today. The results are ready. After counting every vote, we have come to a conclusion. The winner of today's leadership vote is determined to be Lilius Graf. Oof! The hall reverberated with thunderous applause. I congratulate our new leader and our next candidate for president. I couldn't believe it. For a moment, my sight darkened. All I heard was a shouting, Lilius, Lilius. I couldn't focus. Everything became a blur. Are you okay, sir? I am fine. Sank down in my seat and sighed deeply. Well, we had a good run. I can't tell if you're being sarcastic. I know what I will do. What will you do now? Mr. President, my political career didn't start with you, it won't end with you. Besides, you're not going anywhere, are you? Of course not. Then you know I'll support you, as long as we figure out a good plan. I'll start my own party and run for president again. I'll call it the Democratic Party of Swordland, the Maroon Party. Yes, let's be a bunch of Maroons. I'll call it the Maroon Party. Never mind about that. I'll do my best to make sure Lilius doesn't become president. That's an interesting plan, sir. I support your decision, however, I don't think I'll be leaving the USP myself. I'm sorry. I thought you'd follow me anywhere. There's no need for drama, sir. You lost and now you're angry. I get it. But as I said before, my political career didn't start with you and it won't end with you. I wasn't sure if my plan would even succeed. I thought back to the many years in the USP, then I thought about the future. I needed to plan my next steps. Rayne stabs USP in the back. Found Maroon Party. Graf victorious at USP Congress. Lilius Graf steals a vote at USP Party. Rayne breaks from old guard, runs as independent. Right. Dinner at home. Give the guard a suspicious look. Oh, we're getting cooed for sure. Hooker? How was school today? We run a prize at the science fair. You might be right. I was in there. I'm gonna go get some homework done before dinner. Smells delicious. Good God, don't startle me at that. You know I'm still on edge after the parade. You know, you're right, that was a close call. Why don't you go fix yourself a drink in the living room? I'll let you know when dinner's ready. I realized that Monica herself was on the cover. I almost forgot that. Frank never took his studies so seriously. He does now. He told me so in one of his letters. Papa, are we bourgeoisie pigs? Yes, and damn proud of it. Monica appeared in the doorway. She smiled at the two of us. Dinner's ready. The three of us gathered around the dining room table. Stew tasted as good as it smelled. Raise a glass. The past 4 years have been hard on all of us. I was so busy focusing on the needs of the Sorter's people that I sometimes forgot about Sorlin's most important people, my own wife and daughter. I hope someday we'll be able to put this behind us and be a normal family again. But right now, there's no time. We need to gather Sorlin, all of us. And we'll have plenty of time for that because I'm retiring from politics at the end of this term. Once the election's over, I'm taking you both on holiday. Do we flee the country? Do we just retire from politics? No, obviously we will win the election as the leader of the Maroon Party. Once the election's over, I'm taking you both on a long holiday. The Maroon Party needs you, Anton. I think you should quit politics. Not just drop out of the election. Retire. What? Why? With everything that's happened, I don't think you belong in government. And every day you stay there gives your opponents more chances to smear your reputation and ours. They've been making fun of me at school because of you, Papa. You being president, it hasn't been easy on any of us. Maybe we should go back to the way things were before. Sorry, Monica, I've got to keep going. Monica's lips formed a thin line. You never did know when to give up. Can't we finish dinner now? Of course. You two go ahead. I'm going to go to my study. I cleared my plate and went upstairs. I still had work to do. Air Force issues civilian flight warning. That's not good. Military assumes interior security duties. Also not good. What's going on with the Radical? Hope is not lost. Coup time, yeah. What's this report? "2 minutes to midnight. The president of Swordland." Oh boy. I woke up to a loud knock on the door. I managed to open my eyes and looked at the clock. 11:58. Yeah, you could call him Mr. Potato. Who could it be at this hour? Who could it be? Huffing and puffing, I put on my slippers. I looked at the other side of the bed. Monica was sleeping soundly. I started walking downstairs. I heard another loud knock on the door, louder this time. All right, I'm coming. This time even louder. Well, let's open the door. I was met with 20 to 30 men waiting near personnel trucks, all in full combat gear. As I opened the door wider, they started moving towards me. Explain yourselves immediately. No one replied. Instead, soldiers stormed past me into the house. Went through every room, checking for threats. Once they were done, they stood ready. Joseph walked in. Soldiers saluted him. "You! How dare you! You'll explain to me what the hell is going on right now." "I'm sorry, but your time is over, Mr. President. You are under arrest for your crimes against Swordland. Above all else, you have committed high treason and conspired against the will of your people." How long have you been planning this? "Since the day you betrayed your country. The military had no choice but to take over the government and ensure the well-being of Swordland and its people. The Grand National Assembly is hereby abolished with the immunity of members of Parliament, along with the immunity of members of Parliament. In addition, a curfew is now in effect, and all gatherings are banned until further notice. All government officials who are suspected of betraying their country will be tried in military court and made to answer for their crimes. That includes you, Mr. President. You're destroying our democracy. No, we are protecting our country. Take him away. I don't want to see his face. You'll wait in a cell in Antle Rock Prison until his trial. Anton, no, I won't let you take him. Dina appeared at the top of the stairs. She rubbed her eyes in disbelief. Mama, where are they taking him? Monica pulled on my jacket. Soldiers moved in and shoved her away forcefully. Tears welled up in her eyes. Anton! Everything will be fine, Monica. Take care of Dina. No, you can't take him away, please. This is unconstitutional. Another soldier pulled out handcuffs. There is no need for handcuffs. I know when I have no way out. Resist arrest? There's no need for handcuffs. I know when I have no way out. The soldier stopped in his tracks and looked at Yosef for confirmation. He nodded. His men escorted me to the truck. I realized I still had my slippers on. They roughly shoved me in the back of the vehicle as they would a common criminal. The engine rumbled to life and the truck started moving. Stat decrease government budget. It costs money to coup the president. Sometime later. Doesn't even make the papers that the president is cooed. Waiting for the day of trial. Antle Rock president. I was making my 14th scratch on the wall when the warden opened the cell door. It was my first time seeing a person since the military detained me. He put handcuffs on my wrists and we started walking. I barely had enough energy to ask where we were going. I just assumed the worst. He told me today was the day of my trial. While we were walking, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the metal door. My beard had grown, my cheeks were sunken. The conditions I was held in were showing. I was the only one loaded in the prison truck. After a couple of hours had passed, we finally came to a stop. After exiting the vehicle, I held my head up and saw the insignia of the Supreme Court. Soldiers grabbed my arms and I was led me inside. They gestured towards the table in the courtroom. Take a seat. Look around, I saw the flags of the Soldiers' Armed Forces hanging down from the walls, covering the crests of the Supreme Court. The room was completely empty except for me and the soldiers on guard. I looked at the vacant seats on the bench. The door opened and General Yosef Lancy entered alone. Soldiers saluted and he saluted back. I watched him take his seat comfortably. Normally, you are supposed to rise when the judge enters this room. You're no judge. You're just a usurper. Cranky, aren't we? I suppose that's what staying in a cell for weeks does to people. There's no time to waste. Let's begin. That would be funny. They're like too defunded to even coup you. This military court will now handle the case of Anton Rayne, former president of Sortland. Do you know why you're here? Yes, I do. Because you're a evil potato. We all know our sins. You are accused of high treason against Sortland, Mr. Rayne. High treason? I would never betray my country. You know that more than anyone. If there's any betrayal here, it is yours against your democratically elected president and government. Shut your mouth. You only speak when you're spoken to. You have failed to govern your people, and instead, as a result of your actions, they are revolting. If you can't put an end to this, then we will. You spat on the very foundation of this country was built upon. It is clear to me that you're actively trying to destroy our country from the inside, and any enemy of Sortland must pay the ultimate price. What do you have to say to yourself, Mr. Rayne? Made Sortland a better place. Every sword is living a pleasant life because of me. This is criminal. You have neither the right nor the authority to judge me. Let's just commit. I have made Swordland a better place. Every sword is living a pleasant life because of me. Mr. Rayne, you can't toss us a bone and expect us to live in blissful ignorance of your crime. It doesn't matter what I say, does it? No, not really. His mouth twitched upwards as a smirk started forming on his face. I see what this is. This is all a ploy to end Swordlish democracy along with my presidency. I won't play along. Your lies know no bounds. Fortunately, we don't care if you play along or not. At least let me see my family again. They are innocent. We do not negotiate with traitors, Mr. Rayne. Permission denied. No need to delay this further. I will announce the verdict on this case. Let's see. Was I just jailed for a long time, or did they kill me? You felt that you blamed only yourself. You're angry at everyone who betrayed you. Did your best for Swordland, no matter what. I hereby decide that you are guilty. How you would go down in history, the victim of yet another one of Swordland's coups. But he wasn't done speaking. For the magnitude of the crimes you have committed against Swordland, I am sentencing you to life in prison. Soldiers grabbed your arms and started walking you towards the door. As you were walking, you worried about the future of your family, declared that you would take revenge, accepted your fate, worried about the future of your family. Your cell was cold and lonely. The only decorations you put on the damp, dark walls are photos of Frank and Dina. Frank, my son. Dina, your daughter. For a while, reading was the only thing you could do. After finishing the precious books sent to me by Monica, the love of your life, you kept yourself busy by writing your own memoir. You were happy that at least your family was allowed to visit once a month. Time flies in jail. Yeah, we didn't get the firing squad. That's nice. You learned in prison that after 2 years, the military junta finally gave the power back to the people. The love of your life. The political parties in the Grand National Assembly were re-established. You did not care much. I thought that this could be your way out. Hope that someone would hang Yusuf for his crimes. Frank visited you for the first time in years, bringing along his wife and son. They reminded you of your own family in better times. He held your grandson for the first time. He squirmed and started crying in your arms. Frank told you that he had joined the ranks of the Communist Party of Swordland. You said you were worried for his future. Told him not to get too deep into politics. Congratulated him. Said how we were worried for his futures. After 7 years in jail, Swordland's new president finally granted amnesty to political prisoners from the military rule days. You looked at yourself in the mirror. You were packing up your belongings to leave. You had grown old. You took your first step outside. Freedom felt good. Monica, the love of your life, Dina, your daughter, and Frank, your son, were waiting for you. Unfortunately, the years hadn't been kind to Monica, the love of your life, but they hadn't been kind to you either. Getting used to being a free man took years. You finally felt confident enough to plan out what to do with the rest of your life. You chose to have another shot at politics. We'll bring back the Maroon Party. You tried to get back into politics, but Swordland had changed too much. The political spheres formed after the coup did not accept you. You had to work menial, though at least honest jobs to get by. At least you were free. A week after your 66th birthday, a woman knocked on your door. She was a young upstart journalist, fascinated by your life story. No matter what you did, she kept coming back. Finally, you gave in. She said she was working on a book about you. You just wanted to finally have a peace of mind. Helped her as best you could. After many hours of interviews, she said that she had enough information and disappeared from your life. You looked up the name she had given you, but you couldn't find it anywhere. You suspected she had used an alias. You wondered why. You heard her knock on your door. It was a delivery man with a large, heavy package. The package was filled with copies of the book. There was a small note on top of it. Thank you, Carol Circus. Oh, that's the daughter of the dude that was shot. You picked up the book. It was titled Suzerain, The story of Anton Rayne. I faintly smiled. All right. Well, that was that was the reign of Anton Rayne. Oh, look at that, Peter Vector, an absolute centrist. Yeah, we didn't die. That's a win, right? We saved the nation. Yeah. This is surely the best ending. He just loves grilling. Yeah, he just loves to grill. That's all he wants to do. All right. So during our reign, 1.6 million people lost their jobs. 57% fewer maternal deaths were recorded. Hey, that's a big win. During the street clashes, 52 police officers and 228 protesters were killed. 8,821 protesters were arrested. 779 people were killed during the clashes between the Red Youth and Young Swords. 1,314 conscripts died in training. 108,863 new Bluish voters registered to vote. 2,389 legal cases were closed. 614,000 women joined the workforce, and 805,000 girls were enrolled at secondary education for the first time. 81,000 companies declared bankruptcy. 259,000 students left secondary education without graduating. 5,000 state employees lost their jobs, while 55 oligarchs obtained 20% of the Swedish economy. 1,143 news articles were altered. Yeah, that's a good presidency, right? Are you sure you want to end the game? Well, I can't do anything else, can I? No. Go back? Yeah, okay. Baroness Hamburg. Alright, that was Suzerain. A delightful game. So I've actually done, I think this is like the third or fourth run I've done. Because while this run was ongoing, I did a number of runs off stream, and there's a lot of fun things you can do if you go very heavily one way or the other, which is pretty cool. Although it can be a bit annoying when you're doing the replays, because you have to like click through all the story conversations, and some of them don't change that much. Though it is quite fun to see how the different events change based on your choices. There is a surprising amount of replayability, although it can be a bit annoying to replay. Yeah, I really like this game. It's super fun. I'll probably stream the DLC at some point. I won't be jumping into it right away. I don't think my throat would ever recover. It is a lot of reading. Reading out all the different decisions and stuff. But yeah, this was a pretty fun game to stream. It's just kind of funny because it's basically just a visual novel, choose your own adventure game. Yeah, it is story time with me. Let's see, what time is it? It's 9 o'clock. Which means we have still a bit of time we could do some streaming. I'm going to take the stream down for like 5-10 minutes. And then we'll come back with some spire slaying, I'd say. Yeah. Yeah, so I'll be back in like 10-15, and we'll do some Spire Slaying. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. I'll see you in a little bit.